All right. Well, hey, everybody, and welcome to the Modecast podcast, which is a podcast powered by your favorite smart mobility provider, Modeshift, us here. So thanks for joining us today. I'm going to be your host, Max Mickey, as usual. And in this podcast, we talk about all things transit. So before we dive into today's episode, please subscribe, follow us on your preferred streaming platforms. So today is a cool day. So we have Lyubomir Georgiev, who is actually on our team here at Modeshift and is one of the people who builds all the cool things we do. But Lubo, welcome.
Thank you, Max. Hi, everyone.
So Lubo, can you start? I'd love to have you just kind of tell all listeners just like what your role is, kind of what you do, so they can get a little bit of background on your kind of expertise.
Yep, sure. So, once again, hi, everyone. I'm Lubo. I'm product manager at Modeshift. I'm with the company for 4 years now. My role basically is helping clients, also working with our team closely and our UX designers to build something that will work for our clients to see innovations, any new ideas for the clients and also for the business.
Yeah, very nice. So a lot of things that probably a good part of our listeners, like myself, don't understand how things function. But we always like to chat about background and how people got into transit, and it always seems like there's kind of a funny story or just interesting way people kind of fell into transit because most of us, especially on the tech side, weren't doing it for kind of our whole careers. But give us a little background on kind of A, how you got into transit, but then B, what were you working on or industries that you were doing before you were in this space?
So how I got into transit. I've always wanted to be part of a product company that is doing something that you can see the instant results from this product, what the product does to the people. I've been working for product companies for the past 10 years, basically since the time I'm in tech. So my
Okay.
background before that was financial markets. I also had some experience with building, let's say, CMS systems and also controls that are used for developers. It was a product, but most of the time you don't see the impact instantly there. So the transit was something that, I'm part of transit every day as a commuter. So it was really nice to work on something like this.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, being like involved in transit on the personal side and like commuter and that a lot of kind of ideas and yeah, or I guess just ideas happen a little more organically because, when you're actually using public transit and thinking like, yeah, I wish I had this or that feature or this ability, things like that. Does that come up like when, you and your team are talking about, what do we want to add or pull out or build, things like that?
Oh yeah. This happens actually all the time because usually, let's say you're going to the office every day, or as it's now from time to time. Besides from being a commuter, you also go on holidays and to different places where you act more of tourists. So you always have this story. When I was somewhere and I tried to get the bus or the tram and try to do something there, but I wish I had this thing, on my mobile app or something else that would have improved my experience then. So it's pretty common to us to discuss something from firsthand there.
Yeah. Well, and I know you've from obviously you and I know each other, but you've done a fair bit of traveling in different countries and kind of all over the globe. But is there any things that are really like common themes like that you see in transit, like even in tech or outside of tech, like that could be in the States or in Europe or kind of all over, or things that are very different, or because I'm just curious for probably some of our listeners that haven't been to as many different places and tested out as much public transit across the globe.
We are seeing a lot of common things between different agencies. I would say even continents,
Yeah.
different countries and stuff like that. Usually, we are also with the common solutions. There are also these common issues. So something really cool here is that once you see some agency that is resolving some issue in some way, and you see another agency that is struggling with the same issue, the good thing is here that you can always suggest that to the other agency. It's like you know a lot of you're gathering a lot of expertise, domain expertise. So that's really nice. There are also a lot of differences. The differences that we are usually seeing in the different places around the globe are made of the different ways how the agencies are trying to, basically how the agencies are getting their money. Is it from the writers or some budget or some fundings? So this is something that we consider every time we go to a new client, because depending on that approach, they're usually operating in a different way. So with operating in a different way, you see different issues and different approaches
Yeah,
to
yeah, it's
manage
really
that.
cool. Is there any ever, and there may not be, but was there any other like crazy thing you saw in some other part of the world inside of transit, or interesting or cool, or hey, I've never seen that before anywhere else? And I know I'm putting you on the spot. I'm just curious.
Well, to be honest, not really. In terms of how technology helps agencies to cover those strange things there, not. But we've seen
Yeah,
a lot of strange behaviors in the, I don't know,
so
in the
people.
way how the transport work,
Yeah,
which is not really, yeah, in the people, and yeah, which is not directly related to the technology there.
yep. Honestly, that's
Uh,
always the caveat every country and place will have is some funny folks. Um, but yeah, so I mean, so you've built and worked on a lot of different mobility projects, in the space. So I'm sure you've seen a lot of, hey, this is what really makes a project go really well. Here's how one can kind of go sideways pretty quickly, and we make sure it doesn't happen again. But what does like a successful mobility product like look like, or could you kind of describe like how you make sure things kind of stay on the rails, or for us who don't get to see kind of how the sausage is made.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I partially mentioned about me as a commuter and also me as a tourist.
Hmm.
So this is one way to look at the things, and we are doing it every time with each client, because we have smaller agencies, we have bigger agencies, and it's not really about the size every time, but it's about the place they're operating.
Hmm.
So let's say you're an agency where 60% of the people are not commuters and they are tourists that are just come and go every day, and they're just different type of users.
Right.
You have to provide the service for them. Yeah, they need to use somehow your service, and you need, it's I mean, it's up to you to make the whole effort for the user
Hmm.
to use your service as soon as possible. Usually the questions that we are trying to answer for these cases is, let's say, if you're a tourist, the most important things to you are how to get from point A to point B, with which transport type, if you're coming with a car, where you can park it, and all the related questions to these. While when you're a commuter, usually you know where you're going, and the questions there are mostly when my vehicle will come, because you're on tight schedule. I mean, it's just part of your day that you're not overthinking, and you're doing it every day. And the successful mobility product is something that will solve the issues for both type of clients. And to me, this is one of the biggest challenges there, because we need to be able to build an app that brings for both type of users the information needed, but to give it as soon as possible. I mean, and by as soon as possible, I mean, uh, what's the time from downloading the app until you have a pass in your hand, on what's the time of opening the app to see when is the next vehicle that is coming, let's say a bus or tram or something. Yeah, that's usually the cases that we are checking with each client.
Yeah, and I know that's a theme that kind of runs throughout, your team's design and minds when working on things is that simplicity. Like, how do we keep things very simple, like to get somebody from that point A to kind of point B? But does that drive a lot of the how product is created or looks or feels, is with kind of that mindset? Or are there other like important things that you guys and gals are thinking about when building?
Well, yeah, in terms of user experience and how the rider will be, what the rider will experience there, it's one of the most important things
Mhm.
there. The other part of the whole solution that we are providing, and it's really important. It's not the importance of of the rest of the solution is basically what the agency will have and what the
Okay.
agency will use.
Yeah.
So this is, yeah, this is basically the part where we have these interviews with the client, and we are getting all this information about the reports, the daily operation, which are the roles in this agency, what the people in the agencies are expected to do with our system. Is I mean, is our system complying with all these requirements? Can we improve something there? If,
Hmm.
let's say, the someone from the agency is doing something the same way for a couple of years, and we're seeing a point where we can skip some part and make the life easier of this person. We are trying to improve that, because this way, this improvement, yes, it will make the life easier for the agency, but it will also make the life easier for the rest of the agency and help them, let's say, do something more important, which basically ends up by improving riders' experience.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I guess kind of on the flip side, you've obviously built a lot of successful projects, and to be able to do that, you have to fight through hurdles and challenges and things like that. But are there any kind of like common headwinds that come up, or like just challenges in general that you've maybe seen a bunch and now we know how to step over or around or through, or things that you set up so we don't have to worry about those? But what are kind of some of those common um, challenges that you and your team face when working on new projects?
Well, I can start by saying that in terms of product development and working with transit, it's not really in real life. There, it's not really as it's written in the books.
Okay.
So it's a great fun working and trying to achieve something that you've read something or you
Yeah.
know how it should happen, but it never happens that way. And I believe it's the same way with the rest of the team. It's just we are the first people to realize that and to have to adapt. So there are a lot of challenges. I believe there are a lot of challenges in building any product. It's not really the transit products, but it's yet another product that you're building for someone who sometimes has, let's say, one type of interest, but the same product will be used by third type of person.
Hmm.
So it's a tricky one. You need to be able to handle the requirements for the agency, but also be on the same page with the agency how the app should feel and how should react when it's in the hands of the rider. Usually, that's something that I wouldn't say we're struggling. It just we need some more time to be on the same page there. We
Sure.
are always trying to suggest something new, something that we've seen that it works on the other places. One more thing that usually we do, and I think it works really well, is trying to improve the communication from the rider to the agency. Because most of the time, the agency, I mean, the communication agency rider is just one way communication. Yeah, most of the times the agency doesn't know what the rider thinks, or let's say the agency knows only feedback from the most vocal riders,
Yeah.
where usually
You get the
the
extremes
most
on
vocal
both ends.
riders are the 20%, you know?
Yeah. You only hear from the
Yes,
very upset
exactly.
people or the very happy
And this is
people,
something
not
that
people
we're,
in the middle.
yes, exactly. And the people in the middle that you're talking about, they're usually the one with the most meaningful suggestions
Right.
and the good feedback. that you need to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Uh,
so I know we only have a few minutes left here, but what kind of new like tech or items or even just kind of things have you guys been working on lately that kind of get you really excited about just like the future and kind of where mobility is going? What are some of those things that you guys, even if they're not built now, but just some of the things that the team is kind of mulling over and looking at how do we create?
well, about the things that I'm excited about. I would say we are trying to organize some of the services that we are seeing around the cities.
Okay.
Uh, these are different type of services. Now the whole pandemic situation created a lot of demand for different services. At the same time, the transport services, it was a bit left behind, or any services for transportation, even if they're in from the private sector. All the scooters and all the bike share services, stuff like that. Now we are seeing they're all. I mean, the demand is coming back, but we are ending up with a couple of different apps for every single thing you want to do. The last time I was in the States, it happened to me to use the public transport and also some other first and last mile services. So I had to install, I would say, 9 different apps to get the things done during the day, and it was crazy. I mean, if I had to put my credit card in 9 different apps and do the whole registration process and stuff like that, is something that drives me crazy, to be honest. And
Yeah, and that's coming from
the
someone who
thing
knows
that
apps really well.
Yeah, exactly. I think that we are trying to improve here, and I'm really excited to see something in real life really soon. Is basically combining, if not all, at least most of the services there.
Mhm.
And I think this will of course save some space on my mobile phone, but also it will make my life easier if we have just a single sign on for something, single. I'm not going to say database, but a single account, which will be my account that I can use for different services. And I think that's the first step. Once you have this app, you're basically telling, okay, guys, look, we have these services, and they're all in one place. We can improve the communication, as I mentioned on the previous question, to some of those services. Let's say the public transit. How can we, let's say, improve the interaction of the rider to different services, different from the mobility services?
Mhm.
And that's a question that, I mean, it's a rhetorical question. we
Sure.
can we can add more services there. So this is something that I'm really excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
And that's
I think
one of the
everyone.
things.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think everyone can agree.
Yep.
It would be very nice to have fewer places to remember sign-ons and passwords and logging in for specific things. But that is
Exactly.
about all the time that we have for today, everybody. So I want to make sure we, of course, thank Lubo for joining us, being on the show, taking some time out to kind of give us a little peek behind the curtain into the product world and how things are created and what they're working on. So again, Lubo, thanks for the time being on today.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thanks for
absolutely.
having me.
Um, So if everyone enjoyed the podcast, please make sure subscribe so that you can be notified when we push out a new episode. Rate and review it honestly. If you didn't like it, let us know. Give us some feedback, and hopefully you did. But share it with some friends and colleagues in the industry. But again, I want to thank everybody for listening. I hope you're having a good day and enjoyed some of these takeaways. But until next time, we'll chat and have a good one, everybody.